Hello everyone, trying a different setup for my mobile phone again. Oh my gosh, y'all. I so totally loved the newest episode of The Masked Singer in the United States. I'm pretty sure most of y'all have already seen it. I was going to post this yesterday, make the video at least yesterday, which would have been Thursday, but I didn't get around to it, so I'm making it now. Anyway. And that being said, my grandson gave me the idea to put my phone where it is right now to do my videos instead of the way that I've been doing it. It's kind of a little bit darker, but it is definitely a much easier place to sit it. So, welcome to my channel. This specific vlog is about the Masked Singer in the United States, as I said. Feel free to check out my other vlogs, videos, and playlist. I do have quite a few of them. Some of them I need to add some stuff to. The dog is watching me in the video. So anyway, on episode 5, the 4 characters remaining in the second group performed. They are Miss Teddy, and this is not in the order that they performed. It almost is, but it isn't, but they are Miss Teddy, Ringmaster, Hydra, and Armadillo. The outfits this season, they knocked it out of the ballpark. I think they are so cute, all of them. Now she's smelling my cup. Anyway, I know you guys can't see her, so you don't know what I'm laughing at. I could turn it the other way and you'd be able to see her. I don't know how well you'd be able to see me. Oop, uh-oh. Chop off my head. See, here's Izzy over here being all curious about what's going on. Hi, Izzy. Anyway, I'm going to flip it back around the other way. She's like, what? So anyway, but yes, so after their initial performances, after their initial performances, 2 of them dueled with one another, and one of those characters was sent home. So the 2 that got the lowest votes had to duel against each other. Okay, so the first to perform was Ringmaster, who is still my favorite in this group. She performed Super Bass by Nicki Minaj and did a fantastic job. And that reminds me, I had a thought about who Miss Teddy may possibly be when I was listening to music in my son's car earlier. Hopefully I remember to mention that when I get to her. So, and this week, each character had a mega clue. Ringmaster's was an acoustic guitar along with a pick that had crossbones with skulls at the ends and the number 90 on it. And I believe, if I recall right, the pick was pink and the crossbones and such were white. And I was like, why does that sort of kind of look familiar to me, but I don't know where it's from. Anyway, I don't know that it had well, actually, I don't know that it had a 90 on it, because it had the skull and crossbones. I think she just mentioned the 90s. Anyhow, she said she's a 90s chick. I think what she said was, I'm a real 90s chick, which could mean a lot of stuff on here. I'm just saying. My son and I were talking about it. I consider myself not to be a child of the 80s, but I consider myself to be an 80s person, because I was not born in the 80s, but that's when I did the majority of my living, so to speak. It's when I ran around and was in high school and all that sort of stuff, you know. So if anyone asked me, I'd say I'm an 80s girl, right? So it could mean a lot of things. Some of the panelists on there were like, oh, she was born in the 90s. And I'm like, I don't really think that's what she means by that. I think she means she was maybe performing in a group in the 90s. I just had another thought that she could possibly be Julia Stiles. But anywho, I still honestly, though, think she just really sounds like Emily Osment to me. And Emily Osment does play acoustic guitar along with piano. She was born in 1992 and could be considered a 90s chick, you know, depending on what you're considering a 90s chick. My other thoughts on her are Ashley Tisdale, who does who also plays acoustic guitar and piano along with electric guitar. And then another thought that I have had since quite early on for her, well, yeah, since last episode when I was looking into some of the information about her, the other thought that I have had is Carmen Electra. Now, whether or not Carmen Electra plays the guitar at all, I can't say, but she sure loves to pose with them. Like trying to find information about whether or not she plays the acoustic guitar or guitar in general, and there's like probably like 8 to 12 pictures of her on the internet posing with various guitars, and I'm like, that's not what I was asking. So, by the way, I'm advertising fly tape, everyone. If you have gnats, mosquitoes, flies that constantly get in your home, especially the gnats, this stuff right here is just super awesome for catching those. Fly tape, buy some. Don't hang it down too low though. I'm gonna have to move some of these when my grandson gets a little taller. So anyway, Ashley Tisdale was born in 1985 and Carmen was born in 1972. So as I said, going along my line of what I consider myself to be, to me, Carmen Electra would be the one of these that would be most likely to be considered a 90s chick. Also, she did perform with the Pussycat Dolls, which Nicole Scherzinger was part of in the 90s. She performed with them in the 90s. And remember, she said, by the way, Nicole, it's nice to see you again. So that was what led me to Carmen Electra to start with, was the fact that she had said that. So currently I'm possibly leaning more towards her, depending on future clues, and I may need to go back and look at some of them. Carmen Electra was on Baywatch, so if there are any Baywatch type, lifeguard type clues, it may possibly really be Carmen Electra. And I was trying to find out if she had been on Hannah Montana, though, because there was the white mug that had, I believe it was actually a teacup is what I would consider it to be, that had a picture of Miley Cyrus on it, along with a picture of the state of Montana that was like behind it, which of course heavily implies Hannah Montana. Now, of course, Emily Osment played for Hannah's best friend on there, Lily, and Ashley Tisdale also had a recurring role on there. I think she played for a girl who was not really friends with Miley, or Hannah, and Carmen Electra, I was trying to find out whether or not it had been on there, and I think I forgot to look that up the last time that I was looking up stuff about her, so I don't know for sure if she was ever on there. I was kind of thinking that maybe she was either on there and like Jackson was a fan of hers and he went to go to try to get her autograph or something along that line, or it could be or she was a friend of Billy's and he brought her home to have dinner with them or something, you know. But I forgot to look and check to make certain whether it was her that I was thinking of that was on there. It could be a lot of different people. So anyway, I am going to greatly pay attention to her future clues. I know she may only be on one other show, but I feel like Ringmaster is by far the greatest singer in this group. So I feel like she will be in the finale, which would put two good people in the finale. It'd be nice to have one from each of the actual groups, but I'm not sure why they split them up the way they did. So, but in reference to the Hannah Montana thing, Carmen Electra was, after all, in Disaster Movie, which has at least one scene about Hannah Montana, though it also appears that Emily Osment often drinks from a white mug. So, but those of y'all that don't know, the Disaster Movie is like kind of like Scary Movie, and it made fun of other movies and stuff. And there's a scene in it where there's big rocks falling from the sky and such, and one of them falls on Hannah Montana, and it's the Hannah Montana is dead scene. So I'm not even sure if Carmen Electra is in that scene or not, because I I don't know. I watched the clip and I'm like, they may it was older people playing the parts, but they dressed them up to kind of sort of look like teenagers. And part of them, they did such a good job, I couldn't tell how old they were. Just saying. That's probably largely just me, me being like, ooh, I'm older and I look that young. No, just kidding. So, Armadillo was next and performed I Fought the Law by Bobby Fuller, which also goes by the name apparently of The Girl Is Mine. I did not realize that when I was trying to find out who sang it. I'm like, that's not even the name of that song. And then I Googled it, and I was at the time rewatching him singing the song and was like, oh, wait, I guess it does say in there toward the end of the song, I think it is, the girl is mine, don't forget this girl is mine, and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, okay, I guess it could also be called that. So his voice also seems so familiar to me, and I didn't really realize it until I was watching the clip on my phone of him singing that song, and I was like, he seems really, really familiar. He's obviously someone I know. So, that being said, my son was standing in my doorway, and I didn't even know that he was there until he made a comment about Armadillo and about how awesome his outfit is. He's like, ooh, Armadillo's gold, that's cool. And I was like, oh, I didn't know you were over there. But so he watched Armadillo's clues, his mega clue, and his performance, and he made a comment about a couple of things concerning Armadillo that led me to who I currently think Armadillo is, okay? So I don't know where I wrote down what he's saying. Oh, I just said what he's saying. I'm sorry. So anyway, his mega clue was a motorcycle and keys on a very thick keychain that looked to me like it had sequins on it. It was like sparkly. At first I thought it had diamonds on it, but I like got a picture and zoomed in and I was like, no, it looks like sequins, which matches the person I'm thinking it is. He called his motorcycle a Wild Hog. So, of course, then your mind automatically goes to the movie Wild Hogs, right? But I'm like, that might be too obvious, which is always my thought with clues like that. But if they are too obvious, it's going to lead me to thinking it's too obvious and lead me away from the people, if you know what I'm saying. He also said, it looks like his bike is dead, which made me think of Nicolas Cage, right? He was in Ghost Rider, where he rode the ghost motorcycle, and he was the Ghost Rider. So that made me think of Nicolas Cage. Wild Hogs made me think of John Travolta. But I think both are too tall to be him, because he seems to sit at about Nick Cannon's, like where his head would be at about Nick Cannon's shoulders, which was what I thought, and my son agreed with me on that. Nick Cannon is approximately 6 foot, 5 foot 11 inches tall, somewhere in there. So we're thinking he's probably 5 foot 8, 5 foot 9 at the most, right? That being said, just now, when I, not just now, but just when I was rewatching the music video thingy and his clues, I happened to think, ironically, of Sons of Anarchy, right, again, but I also feel like they're all too tall, so I started looking into that. Majority of them range between 6 foot tall and 6'3". So I was like, well, but I don't know, maybe Juice is like, he's the Hispanic one that's in the Sam Crow organization, so maybe he is short enough to be Armadillo, right? And my son, when I was mentioning this to him, said, well, what about Juice? Theo Rossi is actually 5 foot 11 inches tall. I did not think he was that tall, and I'm pretty sure Charlie Hunnam, who plays Jax Teller, is the same height, I think. So, but then I was like, Oh, and I looked more into it and discovered that Kurt Sutter, who wrote the series Sons of Anarchy and is a biker himself, does own a motorcycle. Um, that he is actually the shortest one on the show that I could find, who is 5'10". But then I thought of the Mayans, who are actually also on there and have the Mayans MC show. So I looked into some of them. I was like, could possibly be one of the Mayans though. So Michael Irby, who is on there, is 5'9" tall. He plays for Bishop, who is one of the main Mayans that is on Sons of Anarchy. And Richard Cabral, I believe is how you pronounce his last name, plays Johnny C on there, and he is also 5'9". So this makes me think, just makes me want to go ahead and tell you who I am thinking that Armadillo is, and I know y'all are like, well, go ahead and tell us then, right? But the reason it makes me want to go ahead and tell you guys is because this person is also 5'9" tall. Martin Lawrence, y'all. He was on Wild Hogs. He has been in various things where he wore sequins. The keychain thing is like it has silver sequins on it, and I can't think of what it is right offhand, but there is something he's on where he wears like a suit that's got silver sequins on it, unless I'm confusing him being in that with somebody else being in it. But yeah, the thing that my son asked me, based on the way that, not to be racist, but based on the way that Armadillo was moving and the tone of his voice when he was singing, he said, well, are any of them black? Which makes me think also, I had thought on the last episode when I rewatched it and they showed that barbecue grill, I was like, well, could it be George Foreman? Because he's talking about scrapping and fighting and stuff like that. And George Foreman has the Foreman grill, right? So I was looking into last night whether or not George Foreman has any connection to motorcycles. And there is actually a motorcycle that is called the Foreman TAC, I think. I couldn't find a whole lot of information out on it, but so I was like, I mean, I guess it possibly could be George Foreman, but I don't think it is. Actually, I forgot to check and see how tall he is. Alexa, how tall is George Foreman? Alexa, how tall is George Foreman?
George Foreman is 6 feet 3 inches.
Oh yeah, totally not him then. Stop listening. But yeah, it's totally not him. He's way too tall. Though there was the thing with, I keep trying to call her Celine Dion Warwick, where me and my sister thought that there's no way that can be her because Mouse looks way too short to be Dionne Warwick, and then it was her. She's 5'7", and that Mouse looked to be 5'4" at the tallest. But anyway, camera tricks, y'all, and stuff, you know. But so yeah. I also like Jenny's guess of William H. Macy. I was actually going to watch some of Shameless bright and early this morning, and then I realized what time it was, and I was like, oh, I gotta go to sleep. But anyway, I was going to watch some of Shameless this morning to see him, like, he does all sorts of stuff on Shameless. I know there is a point where he rides a motorcycle on there also, as well as being in the movie Wild Hogs. And like, I'm pretty sure there are scenes where he sings on there, and I went back several seasons when I started rewatching it because I didn't remember a lot of the stuff that went on. But I did like her guess, and he is the same height as Martin Lawrence. And also, just for the record, my initial guess for him, JCVD, Jean-Claude Van Damme, is 5'10", so that's not real far off what we're thinking for his height. And he was in the movie Cyborg, and I'm trying to think, there's some sort of, it might be Cyborg, but there's a cyber type movie that has a lot of computer stuff in it that he is in, and it's not Tron. I'm almost certain he's not in Tron, but it has motorcycles that are sort of kind of like that. So I was thinking, well, it could still maybe be Jean-Claude Van Damme, though I don't know where the sequined keychain thingy would come in with him. He could also be a wrestler, given that, but I don't think it is. I'm really right now leaning toward Martin Lawrence. highly because of when I was listening on my phone to him singing I Fought the Law, and I was like, you know, this sounds a lot like Martin Lawrence to me. I'm just saying. To me, he sounds a whole lot like Martin Lawrence. So, as I said, right now, I am leaning toward Martin Lawrence based on his voice. I hate the obvious clue, though, the Wild Hogs thing. Though a lot of people might not even think of him being on Wild Hogs, and for some reason, I was thinking that Nicolas Cage and my brain is trying to claim John Anderson, the dude that plays Roseanne Cash's, not Roseanne Cash. Oh my God, Roseanne Barr's husband on Roseanne. Y'all know who I mean. My sister's going to watch this and text me and be like, you're talking about so-and-so. I can't think of his name. But he's too tall. Anyway, but I always think that he's on Wild Hogs, and he may just not be one of the main people. The main people that are on it, by the way, are John Travolta, Tim Allen, Martin Lawrence, and William H. Macy. So, and Tim Allen is also 6 foot tall, in case you were wondering. And John Travolta's 6 foot too. So the next to perform was Hydra, Always a Mystery. They performed Sharp Dressed Man by ZZ Top. It was clear to me they were really performers. They always put on an excellent show and keep you guessing as to how many are in that suit. I was like, I want to watch how it moves across the stage, or if it does move across the stage, if it's like wheeled out or they move it out there somehow or something, so I can figure out how many people are maybe possibly in it, right? So the mega clue for them was a deck of cards full of jokers. So I was still thinking part of the cast from Jackass, right? Makes perfect sense. They're all jokers. And then they showed a message from Gilbert Gottfried, who was on Police Academy. So naturally, my mind went to Michael Winslow, who does all the sounds and voices on Police Academy. If y'all have not watched those movies, you need to watch them. He is so awesome. He does the machine gun and someone talking through the loudspeaker and just all sorts of sounds he does. But yeah, Gilbert Gottfried, I was like, wasn't he on Police Academy? And I was thinking maybe it was one person that does a bunch of voices like that guy from Police Academy. So I looked into it and I'm like, yep, he plays for the drill sergeant on there. He's definitely on there. So I was like, could be Michael Winslow for sure. But I still really thought it was probably Steve-O and Johnny Knoxville and possibly Bam Margera, the guys from Jackass and Wild Boys. I couldn't think of what that show was called here a while back. It's Wild Boys, which I don't think that Johnny Knoxville was really on. It was Steve-O, Chris Pontius, a couple of the other guys that I'm not going to think of names right offhand. So, last to perform, well, in the individual performances anyway, was Miss Teddy. She sang Tell Me You Love Me by Demi Lovato. And I told you a while ago I had a thought when I was driving listening to music in my son's car, changed it to a hip-hop station, and I went, ooh, wait, I just had a thought about Miss Teddy. So I'm going to say that here in a minute. So she did say people may recognize her voice, but she doesn't think they'll expect her to be singing this type of music. So, when I was listening to her performance again, I don't know why every now and then there's like a shadow goes across, looks like, but anyway, maybe it's the ghost that spoke to me the other night. So yes, when I was listening to her doing her main performance, and did I already say it? I keep forgetting what I've said and what I haven't said. Yes, I did say it. She performed Demi Lovato's Tell Me You Love Me. And when I was listening to that again, I was like, I mean, she sounds a lot like Adele. I don't think Adele's music is a whole lot different from the music that Miss Teddy has been doing, but it's also not the same. You know what I mean? But I doubt she's her. though she has won a ton of Grammys, that being Adele. Adele has won a ton of Grammys. I asked my handy dandy assistant over here, and she said no. As today, Adele has won no Academy Awards, and I went, really? So I googled it and discovered that she has won a bunch. Like in 2017, she won at least 7 or 8. 2014, she won about the same amount, and I'm sure there were other years that she also won. So that was Miss Teddy's Mega Clue, a paper that read Grammy, like it said up at the top, Grammy, and then below that it said, congratulations on the Grammy. My initial guess for Miss Teddy, you probably remember, was Whoopi Goldberg, who is an EGOT, which, if you don't know, means that she has won an Emmy, a Grammy, an Oscar, and a Tony Award. I was shocked to find out that Whoopi Goldberg has only won 1 Grammy and had 2 Grammy nominations. I was really surprised to find that out. Of course, we're talking Grammys, not Emmys or Oscars here, which I used to think Emmys and Oscars and Grammys were all the same thing, but they're not. So then I wrote Grammy, that is, which I already said that was what I was talking about now. So she does also have 2 director credits. Remember the director's chair with the LOL emoji on it? One of her director credits is Comic Relief in 1986. Laugh out loud emoji. Comic Relief on the director's chair. Anywho, I think she is still a good guess. But the thought that I had when I was driving in my son's car listening to the radio, and I switched it to this hip hop station, and I have in my head, who the heck could Miss Teddy be that we wouldn't expect to be singing the type of music that she's been singing? Y'all, my mind went to Missy freaking Elliott. That's right. Missy Misdemeanor Elliott. I was like, could be Missy Elliott. That would be very cool. I don't think she's been doing an excellent job of singing, though I did discover that the performances sound a whole lot different on my Samsung Galaxy S22 FE S20. I'll try to give myself the newest version. Anyway, than they do on my TV. So it's like, when I was listening to Armadillo, I'm like, this sounds exactly like Martin Lawrence. It is hot in my room. And shameless plug for Oklahoma companies, y'all. Anyway, so yes, I did have that thought on her, which I have not written down, but I'm going to keep her in mind and maybe look over the clues that I have written down for her and see what I think about her being Missy Elliott. I know there was the gospel robes and stuff such as that, but I don't know. It's so hard to say sometimes. So then came the votes, of course. The 2 with the least votes for favorite had to duel each other to stay, and boy did they. They duked it out big time, in my opinion. The bottom 2 were the ones I thought were the bottom 2 last week, ironically. Armadillo and Hydra. Yeah. Here in a minute, I'm going to tell who was revealed in case you haven't seen the show, and I will let you know right before I tell. So Armadillo sang Walking the Dog by Rufus Thomas. He really brought the thunder. And Hydra sang Two Princes by Spin Doctors. And I learned 2 things last night when I was looking up this song. First of all, I learned the song is called Two Princes, which I did not know that was what that song was called. I also learned that Spin Doctors is only called Spin Doctors. I always thought they were called The Spin Doctors, but no, they're just Spin Doctors. But anyway, so before the duel, I noticed they wheeled Hydra out onto the stage, which was, as I said just a second ago, something that I had been wanting to find out was how they got him out there. So I saw that they wheeled him out on the stage, and I was like, okay, because it'd be kind of easy for 2 people to walk out there in that outfit, in my opinion, with it having 3 legs, but it didn't really look to me like like 2 of the legs were made where they could move. So I thought maybe it had wheels on it and they had a thing inside of it, which they have done on some of the outfits before, and they use a remote control or radio control to like move it about the stage. But no, they literally wheeled it out onto the stage. So as I say, I'd been wondering how he got on stage, right? At the same time, I thought about how tall Hydra was. Then they started singing, and I ever so briefly thought one of them sort of sounded like Penn from Penn and Teller. Then I thought about the ATM being an automated teller machine. Thought, maybe. Nah, surely not. And I dismissed the thought completely and totally out of my head for Hydra being Penn and Teller, and went back to the guys from Jackass, of course. So, both characters gave it their all and really performed, in my opinion. They were very entertaining. Sadly, one had to be unmasked because that is part of the show. So, now, spoiler alert, if you have not seen the show and would prefer to watch the show yourself, stop watching now, but thank you for viewing. So, the character with the least votes for favorite in the duel was Hydra. That's right. Who I was looking so forward to seeing who was in that outfit. Like, are there 2? Are there 3? How many are there? Which members of Jackass is this, right? And then a bunny in a top hat appeared, and I literally said out loud, no way. My brain automatically knew who it was, and knew that I should have stuck with my brief momentary thought. And Nicole Byer, that was her name, I couldn't think of her name earlier, she guessed Penn and Teller. But yeah, I saw the bunny in the top hat. Ken looks at Jenny and is like, is it a puppet? And Jenny's like, maybe, I don't know. And I'm thinking, no, dude, it's obviously magicians. It's freaking Penn and Teller. I should have stuck with that guess when I ever so briefly thought maybe that sounds like Penn, and it's tall enough it could be Penn and Teller, you know, and yeah. So anyway, so like after the bunny and top hat came out, and I was like, no way. Then Penn and Teller emerged. It was wonderful to see them, though. I was totally like, dang, I should have gone with Penn and Teller. Dang, I thought for a brief second there, and then I was like, yeah, it's a deck full of jokers. It's got to be the guys from Jackass, right? I wonder how many people went that route, right? But yeah, Penn and Teller are also jokers. So yeah, but it was really, really good to see them, and I was so glad that I did know them. So yeah. But you know me, I stuck with my guess, but narrowed it to only being 2 of them, and decided that it was just Steve-O and Johnny Knoxville. Ironically, the voice in there that I thought sort of sounded like Steve-O was when Teller was talking or singing in a higher pitched voice. He was doing 2 different sounds, and Penn was doing one. For the most part, anyway. So, yeah, it was great to see them on there, though. But so, yeah, I was like, it's just Steve-O and Johnny Knoxville. But the guest panelist, who, as I said, was Nicole Byer, got them right. She knew that it was Penn and Teller, and that reminded me that Eric, who hosts Domino Masters, got Joe Buck right, because I've been saying the only person that has gotten one right was Ken Jeong when he got Christy Brinkley last week, but no. Eric, that hosts Domino Masters, figured out Joe Buck, partly because he thought he was doing a kickoff to him. So far, 2 guest panelists have got one right, and Ken has got one right. So they've each been right about 1 character. And I have been right about 0, I think. Gosh, there's already been so many revealed. I hadn't even thought about that. We're on episode 5, and Group A had 5 characters in it, and we're down to 1, which means 4 of them have been eliminated. And now we've already had 2 eliminated from the other groups. So there's been 6 eliminated already. Wow. But anyway, so speaking of Domino Masters, ironically, on episode 5 of Domino Masters, Carmen Electra was a guest. I thought that was very, very ironic, since I have decided that very, very possibly Ringmaster is Carmen Electra. I'm not positive about that. I'm still up between her, Emily Osment, and Ashley Tisdale, but it's very possible she's Carmen Electra, in my opinion. So, I'll leave you with the thought about Carmen Electra being on Domino Master, Eric being a guest on The Masked Singer, and Joe Buck being on The Masked Singer. Until next time, everyone have a great whatever time of night or day it is in your part of the world. Stay safe and stay positive.